Pretoria in South Africa, the seat of government of this country. President Akufo-Addo is paying a 2-day official visit upon the invitation of South African President Cyril Ramaphosa. And it all started here, the Union Buildings, a structure that forms the official seat of the South African government and also housed the offices of the President of South Africa. It was here that leaders like Nelson Mandela and P.W. Botha governed the Rainbow Nation. Prominently visible on this historic structure are the national flags of the two countries. This is the first time President Cyril Ramaphosa is hosting another leader on a state visit. As he waited patiently for his visitor, the national broadcaster captured every single scene. Ministers and members of the Ghanaian delegation and that of South Africa took positions in preparation of the arrival of President Akufo-Addo and First Lady Rebecca Akufo-Addo. The choice of President Cyril Ramaphosa to have President Akufo-Addo as his first state visitor shows the cordial relations that exist between the two leaders and their countries. Both are strong believers in democracy and have actively been involved in politics. President Ramaphosa was an anti-apartheid activist, a trade union leader, and a businessman who served as the Deputy President of South Africa from 2014. He became president following the resignation of former President Jacob Zuma.
Basically, the main motive of this visit was to strengthen the bilateral relations between the two countries as well as improve the ties of cooperation that exist between the two countries. It was back in 2005, if I'm correct, yes, back in 2005, that then Foreign Minister Akufo-Addo, together with the South African counterparts, established a permanent joint committee for cooperation, and that's the framework that normally underlines all bilateral relations between two countries. Since 2005 till now, those relations, or the permanent joint committee for cooperation, has by and large been a little bit dormant. So if you realize, several decisions that have been taken, several agreements that had been signed over the years had largely not been implemented. So the two leaders decided that they should elevate the discussions to the presidential level, i.e. establishing a binational commission to ensure that at least the two leaders at the helm of affairs give impetus or give meaning to whatever decisions they take.
Behind closed doors, leaders of the two countries with their counterparts held bilateral talks aimed at strengthening the already existing bonds between them before addressing the media.
Your Excellency President Akufo-Addo, President of the Republic of Ghana, Honorable Ministers and Your Excellencies and High Commissioners and all dignitaries. Let me begin by extending once more a very word of welcome, very warm word of welcome to President Akufo-Addo and his delegation to South Africa. This, in many ways, is a truly historic visit. It is the first state visit to South Africa during my tenure as President of the Republic of South Africa. So it demonstrates the high esteem that we have for Ghana, President Akufo-Addo, and the people of Ghana by having invited the Honorable President to be the very first visitor to our country at the state level. President, your visit here is a moment that presents a great opportunity for us as South Africa to renew our bonds of friendship that were created many, many years ago. I've just been able to express how these bonds of friendship started years ago and how we were hugely inspired by the role that Ghana played in the course of our struggle, and how we were also hugely inspired by the iconic leader of the people of Ghana, President Kwame Nkrumah. We've just had a wonderful meeting with President Akufo-Addo. The bilateral discussions that we have had have been characterized by a renewed commitment to forge closer partnerships and to deepen our bilateral cooperation. During our talks, we reviewed a wide range of issues of a bilateral and continental as well as a global nature. We noted with great satisfaction the fact that there exists between our two countries a number of agreements and memoranda that we have entered into in the past. These agreements cover a wide range of fields that touch on trade, that touch on investment, that touch on science and technology. We've also been able to look at the cooperation with regard to defense, to energy, transport, the environment, arts and culture, and tourism. We have recognized that these agreements are at a different stage or different stages of implementation. We further noted that a number of these agreements are also still in the course of being negotiated. We, as the two presidents, have directed our ministers to ensure full conclusion of these agreements and also to make sure that they are implemented so that they can be signed as legal instruments to solidify the mutual cooperation between our two respective countries. We also directed ministers to finalize negotiations in a number of other interesting areas. We are determined to forge a strategic partnership between our two countries, and this is informed by, as I said, the historical ties between our two nations. We also decided that we are going to elevate the joint cooperation system that we have had between the two nations to a bilateral commission which will be headed by the two presidents, and that is going to add a great deal of focus as well as momentum, and it will add an impetus of ensuring that the agreements that were arrived at in the past and those that are being negotiated now are finally and fully implemented. In our official talks, we noted the increased economic cooperation and trade between our two countries. We noted with appreciation the ever-increasing presence of South African companies in Ghana, and also noticed the increased level of investments in the Ghanaian economy by South African companies. In our efforts to increase economic cooperation, a joint business forum has been organized comprising of business delegations from both countries, and this forum is getting underway this afternoon. We will, as the two presidents, address the business people, that forum, and encourage them to take advantage of the conducive investment environment that exists in our two countries, an environment that is supported by the level of cooperation that we have and the agreements that we have reached. And as governments, we have committed ourselves to further improving the ease of doing business in the two countries. We could not complete our official talks without discussing regional, continental, and international matters. In this regard, we noted with concern the continued instability and conflict in some parts of the continent. We have reaffirmed our commitment to working together in pursuit of peace and stability and development in our continent, Africa. We have welcomed the strides that are being made by AU member states to advance continental integration. And in this regard, we were particularly grateful for the fact that the AU leaders, having signed in Kigali the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, finding that a number of other countries are also following suit. And in this regard, we've taken leaf from the leadership that has been shown by Ghana, and South Africa signed the Continental Free Trade Agreement in Nouakchott in Mauritania. So South Africa has joined the ranks of Ghana and a number of other countries by acceding to the Continental Free Trade Agreement. We urge fellow AU members to ensure that this important agreement is signed and ratified within the shortest period of time. On the international front, we've also affirmed our common view on the need to promote multilateralism and South-South cooperation. We have reiterated our call for the reform of the global system of governance and have called upon it to be more equitable and representative of all the regions of the world. In this regard, we're calling for the UN reform process to truly get underway. In conclusion, we reaffirmed the importance of historical relations and further committed ourselves to working even closer together to enhance political, economic, and social cooperation. So, Your Excellency, President Akufo-Addo, we as South Africans welcome you here with open arms. We are highly honored by your visit to our shores, and we want to assure you that Ghana and South Africa will continue to enhance the wonderful relations that we consolidated today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Your Excellency, President Akufo-Addo, may I invite you to deliver your remarks. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much indeed. President Ramaphosa, members of the South African government, members of the Ghanaian delegation, ladies and gentlemen, I think President Ramaphosa has given a very thorough overview of where we are and what we have been discussing. I just want to add one or two things. First of all, to express my deep appreciation and the appreciation of the Ghanaian people for this honor that has been done us and myself by being the first president to pay a state visit to South Africa during the era of President Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa. It's going to be a very important era in the life of South Africa, I have no doubt. That I'm the first here is something that is definitely going to be part of my CV.
Mine as well.
Highly appreciate it. And also to express my appreciation for the honor that was done me by being invited to deliver the centenary memorial lecture in Accra, commemorating the life of the great man, Nelson Mandela. The High Commissioner invited me to do that. So on the 18th of July, I'll be doing so. And that is yet another big, big honor that the South African people are bestowing on me. And I appreciate it very much. I think that to reinforce what President Ramaphosa has said, the need for close collaboration between our two countries who are working for common purposes on the African continent, to ensure the development of our continent, to ensure that we are masters of our own destiny, that we're going to build an Africa free of foreign control, free of foreign domination, which can respond to the aspirations of our people. That is the big challenge that is confronting the leadership of our nations at this point in our history. And for me, I welcome very much the opportunity to work with a man like President Ramaphosa in furtherance of this big goal. Our continent has everything, and yet we're the poorest on the people on the face of the globe. That anomaly can no longer continue. And it is because countries under responsible leadership like Ghana and South Africa commit themselves to working together, collaborating over broad areas of mutual interest, that we can advance to that goal. So we're here with a very, very broad-based delegation. We have ministers of finance, national security, agriculture, defense, science and technology, energy, agriculture. All of them are here to be able to engage with their South African counterparts, to find instruments and avenues for developing this mutuality in our two developments. We're there in West Africa. It's a gateway to a market of some 350 million people. Just as you're here, it's a dominant economy of Southern Africa, in fact, on the continent. Believe that a strategic partnership, which President Ramaphosa is talking about between our two countries, is a very important tool for advancing the interests of our people. So I came here to renew the friendship, to renew the sense of solidarity and cooperation that is between the two of us. Ghana had the great responsibility at the beginning of the decolonization process, of taking the lead, because we were the first to be free. And our leader then, Kwame Nkrumah, was very insistent that we had a responsibility to the rest of the continent in speaking out and advancing the cause of freedom. And it is a matter of pride for all Ghanaians that we were able to play this role. And in the process, there are many South Africans who came to our country and established connections that last up till today. We want those connections to be even more heightened in this 21st century, so that the mutuality, the advantages that there are in this cooperation can bring about a more prosperous and more progressive South Africa, a more prosperous and more progressive Ghana. We agree on all the fundamental issues of economic growth, regional security, global governance, support very strongly the reform that is taking place with the African Union to make it a tool fit for purpose in the development of our continent. We support very strongly the African demand for the reform of the main instrument of global governance, which is the United Nations, especially of its Security Council. We believe that much of the dysfunctioning of the global system today is a reflection of the dysfunction in the Security Council, where large numbers of people who were not represented in 1945 in San Francisco are still not represented within the confines of the Security Council. And that there is an urgent need to reform that institution so that it can play a more acceptable role in the resolution of international issues. So we've come here to South Africa to extend the hand of friendship and solidarity and to say we're ready to scale up the relationship. The transformation of the Permanent Commission for Cooperation, which we're now going to scale up into a binational commission headed by the two presidents, is exactly the right kind of signal for our two countries to develop at this time. It will mean that the undertakings that we will make here in future times will not just be left on the table, because we're going to meet annually. The presidents will have an opportunity to see to what extent the understandings that we've had are being respected. And it becomes a very big tool for accountability and for ensuring progress. So I'm delighted at the opportunity to be here. My delegation came here also with my wife, Rebecca, and South African hospitality, proverbial, very warm, very brotherly. We appreciate it very much. And I'm particularly happy that my period as president of Ghana has coincided with the emergence of President Ramaphosa, as president of South Africa. Mr. President, we're grateful for the invitation. We're very, very happy to be here. Thank you very much indeed.